Hello, I had some streaming issues with my Monday Night Live tonight, so I thought I'd record the whole thing and put it on YouTube for you. So if you were one of the people frustrated that we didn't get through the whole stream, or you've watched the beginning and you don't want to watch Bitcoin and Ethereum again, you're welcome to skip forward. If you look at the order of coins, then you'll see that that's the order that I'm going to go in, and I'm going to stick to it hopefully. So we're going to start tonight with Ethereum. I've got Ethereum and Euro here because we have a lot of people in my group who trade Ethereum against Euro instead of against the US dollar. So we've broken out in Ethereum from a really nice bull flag this evening. You know, we had a really sharp sell-off on Sunday night after the weekend's rally, but now we've broken out today. We're headed higher, and if we look on our daily, you know, we're above all of our important daily moving averages. So now the next issue for Ethereum is going to be extending beyond 50% of the drop. Because whenever you see a breakout like this, 50% is resistance. That was the resistance on Sunday, and you can see that we've broken out above it. So our next issue is now going to be these prior highs, because we need to see Ethereum make a new high to keep going higher. So 694 next, and then our next target on the upside in Ethereum is going to be 1.618 of this swing lower. And I'm going to pull out, I'm going to look for the next daily retrace level in Ethereum. I like this 1.618 for the next target because it lines up very nicely with these prior highs. And let's see where that 618 level is, a little bit higher. So not quite everything lining up together, but if we go with these prior highs and the 1.618 extension, I think that 794 is a really solid next target for ETH Euro. If we do the same thing for ETH US dollar, you will see, let's look at Bitfinex prices tonight. You'll see that we've done the same thing. So on the daily, we've pulled back to the 382 fib retrace of the rally. We've pulled back to the 200-day moving average, the 20-day moving average, and we've seen a really positive bullish reversal, a really nice little hammer candle, and with really good follow through. So just like Ethereum Euro, the 50% of this drop was going to be the issue that we have to push through. It looks like we're just pushing through it tonight, which is a good sign. So where is our next target going to be in Ethereum US dollar? Again, I'm going to put my fibs on from highs, lows, but it's not really lining up with us much. And I'm going to look for 1272 and 1.618 from here. So I'm going to say 892, which is the 50% of the big high to the low in Ethereum US dollar next, 892. And that's 1272 from this swing higher here. That all lines up there. Now, if we go to just these prior highs, if we go to the 1.618, as it looked like we could do in Ethereum Euro, that would be the second target of 962. So 892 and 962 are our next upside targets for Ethereum US dollar. 892, 962. Good luck. I think it looks really good. Now, if you haven't got any Ethereum US dollar, then, you know, break out from these prior highs around 737, followed by a retest, a pretty snappy retest of this level should give you an entry. If you look here, we've got a little bit of a little nice pattern forming here with a neckline at 737. So breakout and retest of this level would be a good long entry for ETH US dollar. So the next one we're going to look at is Bitcoin. How spooky was Bitcoin? Now, many times we've looked at Bitcoin and said, where are we going to pull back to? Where we have bounced from is the daily 50 moving average. It's 50% of the entire rally of the April rally. And it's, you know, an ABC correction. What do I mean by an ABC correction? Well, what I mean is very often corrections are equal measured moves, and they're three waves. And that's exactly what we've done in Bitcoin. This swing lower and this swing lower here are equal distance, and that's what you very commonly see in a corrective pattern. I was a bit concerned that we'd seen the same in the rally, so we'd seen 2 equal measured moves here, but in the last hour we've kind of broken a little, we're breaking a little bit higher and hopefully breaking that symmetry. If I draw it like this with a measuring tool, you can see that 8826 is the level, and we're just pushing through it, hopefully, in Bitcoin dollar. If we can, then 50% of the drop will be the next issue, just like Ethereum. That comes in at 9,100, and above 9,100, I think that we've made a bottom, and Bitcoin is going to have another attempt at this 200-day moving average and the big 10,000 level. If we push through 10,000, my next target is all the way up at around 12,400. Although I think that we could see some trouble around 11,000 first, but we'll see when we get here. The really important thing is getting through that $10,000 level next. So, and that would be our target on any push higher above 9,100. So looking pretty good in Bitcoin US dollar. Let's move on to Litecoin. Next one. In fact, we're going to look at ARK next. Lots of people asked for ARK. I'm going to look at ARK Ethereum first, and we'll look at ARK Bitcoin. ARK Ethereum has been in a really long term, since February, bottoming pattern. We've got a triple bottom, and we've got 3 or 4 touches of the upside of this range that we're in. So obviously we're looking for a breakout of this range, but there's, through the middle of it, there's also a bit of a pivot level halfway along, and that's what you can see. If you draw the line through, you can see that that's resistance when you're underneath it, and then support when you're above it. And today we've had a sharp rally all the way up, and I'm looking for us to close in the top half, so that, and find support around here, around 4,975, so that we can carry on and retest those highs again and potentially break out. Here's a really cool trick. When you see a long-term range trade like this and you break out of the range, then the distance from top to bottom of the range is the distance that you're looking for as your target when you break out, a minimum target. And so that, for this breakout from ARK Ethereum, would mean all the way to 8,000, and the closest fib level to that would be 50% of the highs to lows in ARK ETH at 8,300. So that means on a breakout above 5,980 in ARK, you're going to have a resistance level at 7,200, but we should push higher to 8,300 next in ARK ETH. If we do ARK Bitcoin, we'll do the same exercise in this one, because the move today was quite interesting. We've got a sideways bottoming pattern in ARK ETH, but in ARK Bitcoin we've got an inverted head and shoulders pattern, and our neckline is here at 4,160. Today we've ran all the buy stops above this level, which is really naughty, and here we are back at the neckline. I think where we close tonight is going to be very important. We don't really want a false breakout, but I think that this is got far too much interest in it, and it's going to shake a few people out before we keep going higher. So I'm not going to give up on this one. I'm just going to watch for the shakeout to finish, and then the next time it turns higher, I'm a buyer. And then if we can close above 4,200 in this one, then I think that we're in our next swing. And the same way that we looked at how you measure the target for ARK ETH, we're going to do the same for a head and shoulders pattern. We're going to go from the lows to the neckline, and we're going to project it from the breakout point, and that says that we go to at least 5,700 in ARK Bitcoin. That means to the 61.8. I think probably at least to the 50%, which is 5,300. But in this one, I'm measuring the moves, and I think that we have potential to 6,400 as a minimum target in ARK Bitcoin. That's what I'm looking for. So watch this one. I'm not super bearish, but we might need to dip back and test support again before we go higher. If we look for fib support and prior lows and highs, and a support and resistance level, 3,880 is where I see it for ARK Bitcoin to buy again before we go higher. So that was for Nomadic Crypto on Twitter. I hope you enjoyed that one. So Litecoin, let's talk about Litecoin. Litecoin announced that they were going on the Gemini network, and that's given us a bit of a boost tonight. So I'm going to talk about this daily chart in Litecoin Bitcoin first of all. This has been so frustrating. I had been waiting to buy Litecoin Bitcoin at a 50% retrace of the rally that we had from the December lows. And the problem with this is every time we tried to get close to it, we kept bouncing. We've bounced like 7 or 9 times from this lower trend line. And every time just short of this 50% level and never quite down to the 200-day moving average. I think this is because this pair's not traded very much as a pair. People tend to look at Litecoin US dollar or Litecoin euro. Anyway, we've bounced again after the sort of 9th attempt of this trend line. So I've put an alarm on the upside. If we can break to the upside of this range above 0.0181, then I think that we've bottomed. We're not going to probably go back down to this 50%, and we're in the next swing higher in Litecoin Bitcoin. So that's what I'm looking for. My alarm's up here until we get again out of this range. I think it's a coin flip whether you should be in Litecoin or Bitcoin or not, and not really compelling enough for me to get on it. But when I look at the monthly of Litecoin Bitcoin, as I said many times, I think that this Litecoin Bitcoin chart, I'm having a bit of trouble here adjusting it, is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, and the neckline is up here around 0.022, and I'm super bullish. My first target would be back to these prior highs around 0.0323, but then my target is all the way up here at 0.049. So long term, I'm pretty bullish Litecoin US, Litecoin Bitcoin. So what does that mean for Litecoin Euro? Do you know, it looks just like a bit like Bitcoin, doesn't it? We've had a rally from the beginning of April lows. We've made an ABC correction back, and now we're trying to push higher. In Litecoin dollar, though, we've gone to the 61.8. This is a good lesson. Between the 618 and the 382 is like the golden ratio zone. So when you hit the top, the 382, I would expect it to pull back to the 50% before we continue higher. And if we don't, like this 382 is the minimum target. If we go a little bit further to the 236, then I would expect us to retrace 50% of this entire rally. So that would mean somewhere around 148, 150. And Litecoin dollar really likes that round 150 number. Pull back to there and then carry on higher. So looking good to make a bottom here, but we've got a bit more work to do before we confirm it, and we're on our way. So if we go to the daily and we look at Litecoin US dollar this way, then where are we going to go? Let's clean up this and clean up these fibs, and we don't need this anymore. Okay, so if this was the first rally off the lows here, and we measure this and we project from this slightly higher low, then our first target upside is going to be 202. That would be where this rally is, 61.8 of that rally. And that's a kind of good level for a triangle. If we make an ABC correction from the February low, then our target will be 260. And if we get all really bullish, like on US dollar, which I'd like to do, then we go back to 353 and back to the December highs, which would be really exciting. So those are the upside targets for Litecoin. Now, just like Bitcoin, we've got a lot to do between here and there. And most important is going to be 50% of this drop and the 200-day moving average. So 50% of this drop, this is what's going to confirm that we're going higher. And that's going to be above 157 in Litecoin dollar. So the next one we're going to look at is ADA for Chris Charles. Hello. Chris Charles, hello ADA. Oops, this is not ADA, this is NEO. I'm a huge ADA fan and I'm long myself. So I am re-evaluating constantly what's going on here. So in ADA, we've had a lovely rally from the March lows and we've pulled back to exactly 50%. We've also pulled back to the daily 50 moving average, which is like our backstop catcher moving average. So in that respect, this is pretty good signs. It's all pretty positive for ADA. But what we need to see from here is a rally, and we need to push through at least 50% of this drop. I'm a bit concerned in ADA that we've only seen one swing of correction lower. And what we might see is a rally back to around 3,400, 3,500. And then we roll over and we make a head and shoulders pattern, and we see another swing lower. So I'm being a bit cautious. And the other reason I'm being a bit cautious, let's get rid of these. The other reason I'm being a bit cautious is I don't like how in this rally we're really choppy and overlapping. We made a double bottom. I thought we had good potential to go higher, but then we couldn't. We keep failing at this prior highs and this level through the middle and underneath these moving averages. So for me, I really need to see ADA close above 3,250 to prove that we're going higher. Otherwise, I think that the risk is that we continue lower, and so initially above 3,250, and then 50% of this high to the low. So those are the two levels that we need to clear. 3,525. Above that, I'm going to say, phew, I think we're out of trouble. So these prior highs initially, then 3,525, and then above there I'm super bullish, and I will buy more ADA above 3,525. So if we break down here tonight though, and this is what I'm looking at this way, see how we've got this consolidation? I'm going to put my stop under these lows. I really don't want to go all the way back to the bottom and ride out a retest in ADA when everything else is doing better. I would rather be in Bitcoin and wait and see if this will bottom. So I'm starting to lose my patience with this one when everything else is rallying so well. So bigger picture though, I'm a huge ADA fan. I will always I'll buy the next buy setup in this one for sure. So that's ADA. I realize it's not great news, and I hope that helps you. So the next one we're going to look at is ZRX for Kavorka Dragon. ZRX has really important support. 236 of this rally, and that sort of 886 fib back test at 17,800. This is trend support for ZRX. If we break this, we're in a bigger correction. We're likely to come back to, let me move this one, either 16,100 or potentially a little bit lower to 15,300. Between those two support levels, I think the best way is going to be to measure this. Okay, so if we're making a big ABC correction in ZRX, I'm going to measure from this high to here, 16,774. So probably the higher one of these. I'll move this one up. Even then, it doesn't quite line up, does it? So let's say for sure, one thing that I do know about with these moving averages, I think if we lose this 236 fib level and 17,950, that we're probably looking at a bigger correction and potentially 50% of the entire rally in ZRX. So for me, if you are long and holding on and hoping this will keep going higher, then a daily close below 17,800 says that it's not, and that we're in a bigger correction, and that would be my exit. And then I would wait and watch the price action to buy in ZRX Bitcoin. So that's the next one. Lumen, lots of interest in Lumen, and why not? This chart looks really cool. So let's do Lumen. Now I'm going to tidy up this chart for you. I've got a few alerts on here. So Lumen is a really good example of that bullish. So we had a bullish breakout. I think we made a big ABC correction. We've had a breakout. We pulled back 50% of the rally to 3,560, and now we're pushing higher. The thing with this is always we've got to do 50% going the other way, and this is kind of where we've stalled, around 4,200. However, I think we've gone a little bit beyond that. I love how we're holding above the daily 20 moving average, and so I think that we see a bit of sideways price action, and then I'm expecting Lumen to continue higher. Another way to look at this is if we put fibs on from this high to the low, the big swing that we're inside of, then, and we change, let's change the color so we can see it. We'll put our 618382 on. What you'll see is that here in Lumen, we're bouncing between those golden ratio levels, the 618 and the 382. And that 50 is always the pivot in the middle. So if we roll over here and do another swing lower, and then we break this low, then we have another leg lower to come. And we know where our target is going to be. It's going to be down to the 236, down here at 3,136. And this trend line is walked, we'll take it away. If we don't, if we get above here, so if we go back to the highs, we can expect a pull back to this 50% and continuing higher. And if we get above the 618, then we'll do this next fib going the other way. That's simple, that'll be the 786. And so our next upside target will be 5,464 here. Once we go beyond that, I think that we can say for sure we're in our next leg higher in Lumen Bitcoin. So expect resistance if we break higher at 5,464, and then above that we're super bullish. Let's go zoom out a bit more. I've got my next target all the way up here at 8,988. So I've got a couple of levels, 7,500 and then 9,000 basically in Lumen Bitcoin. Looking really good, but not quite out of the woods yet. Just need to do a little bit more potentially before we break out of this congestion range. So that's Lumen. The next one we're going to look at is EOS. Now, EOS is a really good example. You know, it was a lot of the coins that we looked at. They're still in this phase. You know, we've had one pullback and then they're doing this congestion. We did this in EOS and we've almost hit, in fact, I think we did hit our ABC target, our equal measured move. If I measure it from here, we've hit it. If I measure it from here the way I should do, we haven't quite, and it's around the 618. So potentially EOS has done enough of a correction and could be setting up ready to go again. What do we need to see in EOS US dollar for it to turn high again? I've got alarms all over the place. I'm going to take them off. So first of all, we need to see some bullish price action, and we haven't yet. So we need to see signs of a bottom, something like a double bottom, or a retest or a slightly lower low that holds and bounce back pretty quickly. You see that a lot in crypto pairs, or something like this, a head and shoulders pattern, some kind of a basing pattern that we turn higher from. Alternatively, if it just goes in a straight line, which sometimes it does in like a V bottom, or, you know, you do see these in some markets, then if we do that, then for me, above this 236 fib level, so EOS dollar, that's 14.64, I would get quite bullish. There's resistance at 16.24, but then once we get back above these prior highs, I think we can say that we're on our way. Another way, useful way, is to draw a trend line like this and say that when we break that, we're on our way higher, and the next leg higher is underway in EOS US dollar. Next target in EOS US dollar to the upside is 27.81. So pretty much double where we are now. So, but not confirmed that we've turned higher yet. We're just looking for the evidence. I would put my alarm on this trend line, if I'm going to do it now, so that I don't miss it if it decides to get a shimmy on. So that's EOS US dollar. If we look at EOS Bitcoin quickly before we go, and we'll see how we're doing in this one. Now, I think potentially, you know, we're bouncing off this 200 moving average, and potentially we've got a little bit of a double bottom here. But I've got a feeling when I look at EOS Bitcoin that we have a little bit lower to go. I would have liked to see 50% of this most recent swing higher. That's quite a common correction, and we haven't done it yet. So if I measure the swings, have we done enough for a sort of ABC or anything like that? It's a bit difficult in this one to see. Not quite. So this first swing lower measured from here, not quite there. But we might, if we measure it this way, have some support. So now we need to see better evidence of a bottom. So we need to see this retest, hold, turn higher, break the pivot in the middle. That would be quite bullish. We need to go beyond the 236 fib correction of this drop. That would be a good sign. So that would be above 17,368 sat. Anything like that would be a bullish reversal for EOS Bitcoin. Otherwise, just be aware that we might sink a little bit lower to 14,700 before we rally in EOS Bitcoin. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is Icon, ICX. Now, Icon, this is pretty critical where we are in this one. Look at this. If we look big picture since the start of this one, this is a Binance chart, daily chart, from the low in December to the high that we made in the end of January, we've retraced to the 786 fib. That in a bullish Gartley pattern. Now normally that would say we go to the 382. So our target, our very straightforward target, should be up here, 5,892, and potentially we could squeak one more higher to 7,154. So those are my two upside targets. Where we've stalled is at 50% of the drop, or the 50% pivot in the middle. And we're going sideways here. I think that this looks like a bit of a bull flag, and the momentum is just turning up higher again, but we haven't quite pushed up yet. I've got an alarm on this upper trend line here. We're holding the midpoint this time. We've got an even smaller wedge if we look within this bigger wedge. We can draw it like this. So I'm just waiting for the breakout in ICX. And if we don't break out, you know, we're going to go a little bit lower. 3,852 is the next support if we make a deeper pullback and one more swing lower here. And that takes us back to the daily 50 moving average, which we haven't quite tagged yet. So 3,852 if we take another drop. Otherwise, I'm watching for a breakout on the upside, and 5,892 next. Until then, we're stuck in a very, very tight range waiting for a breakout in ICX. The next one we're going to look at is AION. Lots of requests for AION. Now, this one's really tricky. You know, when you draw these 618, 382 ranges, we had this really sharp spike rally in March. And since then, we've been kind of reverberating in the levels between that. I'm going to pop regular candles on for a second and show you what I mean. So this was the sharp rally, and then we dropped all the way back to the lows. If we put our fibs from this high to this low, we rallied to the 61.8, we pull back to the 236 fib, and now this pivot in the middle, this fib level at 3,800 is resistance. So 3,800 is our bull bear line. It's like the line through the middle that we need to get above. And you can see before when we made the inverted head and shoulders pattern that the spike was a breakout of, that this was the old neckline. So this is a long-term trouble level really here, or a little bit lower. 3,750 probably is a better level. We catch more highs this way. So 3,750, unless we get above this, we're pretty stuck in AION. And then once we do, I think that potentially this could be a pretty nice bull flag, and we'll be on our way, and we'll go back to that target that we spiked at before at 5,184 first, and these prior highs, and then hopefully we carry on higher this time. But at the moment, you know, this price action has been pretty ugly today and quite difficult to trade, and we failed again at this level. If we look at it on a 4 hour, it's our 200 moving average as well. So if I was long of AION, I'd be looking at this and I'd be pretty happy because it looks like another small inverted head and shoulders pattern when the big one works so well. But sometimes they're not, and sometimes this is just a wedge. We need to be aware of this. So I think if we break down and we lose these moving averages, or if we trade back below 3,300, if you're hodling this one, I would get out, because I think that we'll see another leg lower. We're still in a range trade, and we're going to come all the way back and retest the bottom of the range around 2,500. And there's just no point. That would give, from where we are now, that's a third. You'd be giving back 30%. Don't do it. So watch this doesn't break down, and if it does, step aside and wait to buy it again. The next one we're going to look at is Neon, which Edie on Twitter. Hello, Edie. You didn't say Neon Bitcoins or Neon US dollar, so I'm going to look at both because I'm a sucker for punishment. Okay, if we look at Neon Bitcoin, this is it looks pretty ugly. Let's take this tidy up. But this is around the daily 200 moving average. So for me, these bunched up moving averages, overhead Neo, which are resistance at the moment, they're going to be a pretty clear sign when we get above them that we've recovered and we're on our way higher. I'm watching this Neo like this. If you draw the trend line from this low through this low, it looks like we're having a really good fight over this and we're trying to shake people out. I've drawn this as accurately as I can, I think. And so, yeah, this is like a proper bull-bear fight here. The bulls are not giving in. So what's going to tell us that we've finished this correction and we can go higher from here? Let's go down a time frame for Neon, like Neo, and say we'll draw our fib from this high to the low. If we get above the 236 and hold it as support and push higher, that should be it. And I think, to be honest, we've done it. So I'm not too bearish Neo here. I'm looking for some follow through on the upside. So let's go down another time frame. I'm going to connect these highs, or say this hourly 200 moving average. If we can take this out, then we should be on our way higher. And I'm looking for this bullish, this consolidation to stay bullish and keep going higher. Now, if you're long Neo and you bought some, I would connect these lows with the trend line. And to be honest, it's going to all go wrong if we break this down. And I would keep it really tight because you don't want to ride out another leg lower. So I would have my stop somewhere around 7,500, and I just wouldn't let it give it a chance to come back now. So that's Neo. Not only that, but you know, when you look at this daily trend line and the fact that we're underneath the 200 moving average, you don't want it to break down here and do one more leg lower, because if it's equivalent to that one or the next Fibonacci support, let's look at where Neo that's going to be. Okay, so actually we've got the 618 fib support here, haven't we? And we're doing that 382 thing. So maybe I wouldn't keep my fib stop so tight, but probably I would, because I'm looking for it to follow through and go higher now. But I think if we go below 6,940, we're going to go to 4,697. This level should then be pretty good support. It will be a Gartley pattern as well down here, but that's too much profit to give back if you're long, I think, in Neo Bitcoin. So let's see if we can push through and carry on higher this time in Neo Bitcoin. So that's what I'm looking for, and I honestly I would have it on a really tight rein, because let's face it, if it does break down, if you get out and it does break down here but it just retests 7,000 and finds support again, buy it back, but don't risk it, because it's a hell of a drop if that doesn't hold to 4,600. So don't hodl if you don't need to. That's what I say. And if you don't, and if Neo keeps going higher from here, then happy days, because 618 bounce again means that we go back to the 382, and so from here we go back to 0.01. So that would be pretty good for Neo. Neo US dollar, does it look any better? Let's see. Neo US dollar, you know, is quite, because this is a big ABC correction, Neo US dollar is quite bullish. And when we zoom in and we look at where we are on this daily, we are doing that 618,382 thing. From the rally, we're nowhere near the lows, we're well up on them. So, you know, when I look at the daily moving averages, we're still underneath them in Neo, and we still run the risk of a move lower if we can't get above 69.40, which is like the 50% pivot in the middle. But it's definitely not as dire as the Neo Bitcoin chart is, isn't it? So above 69.40 is a move higher and a bullish breakout for Neo. If we look at it on our hourly chart, you can see that's where we stalled yesterday on Sunday, and this is where we are stuck at the moment. So above 69.40 in Neo dollar, look for 75.36, and above there I think that we are, the risk of another swing lower is off the table and we can push higher. Next one we're going to look at is Zilliqa. For Dreamliners, hello Dreamliners, Zilliqa. Zilliqa, if we go to our daily chart, I use for my targets in Zilliqa projections from each of the small corrections. And where they lined up, they did do a really good job of predicting where the high would be for this one. 2,450 I had, and it was close enough. So now we're in a correction. I think that we're going to come back, which I'm looking for a simple ABC correction back to around 1700, and then the uptrend should continue. So let's see. A retest of the lows may be a little bit lower. If I measure in this one, from this first swing lower, if I take it from here, or the most recent swing, let's do it that way. Put my fib retrace on the most recent swing. 382 would be 1890. That's where we are now. And if we go 50% of the most recent swing, 1698. So 1698, let's remember that. 1698, this level here, I think that there, or just a little bit above there, in an ABC 618 correction is where Zilliqa should, at worst case, come back to before resuming the uptrend. Now, where do we go next if we resume the uptrend? Well, the next confluence levels are between 3,400 and 3,570 for Zilliqa. But we need to wait, and a really good indicator would be a back, you know, we'll go sideways for a few days. The 20 moving average should catch up. We should tag it or get pretty close to it, and then you'll see a turn higher again in Zilliqa. So time to be patient in this one and wait for the uptrend to continue. I would take some profit off if we made a new low, unless you're okay with it coming back a little bit further. Depends really how you feel. Hopefully you've already taken some off with this price action. And yeah, just wait for it to turn higher again. It's just a correction in an uptrend for now in Zilliqa. So let's look at some Ripple. Ripple's pretty simple. Let's look at Ripple Bitcoin. So Ripple pulled back to perfect pullback and retest of these daily moving averages. The 200-day, the 50-day, we're right here. We've made an ABC correction. Everything is lined up for Ripple to go higher, but it hasn't. Since yesterday, we've been stuck. If we draw a trend line from the 21st of April high, that's where we're stuck. And it's frustrating as heck. If we drew a fib and we put our 236 fib on, we're above it. Like, we should be pushing higher from here, and it's holding as support. So 8,300 should hold as support, and Ripple should carry on higher. The next resistance, and there's lots more resistance here, is these prior lows and the 200 moving average on the 4-hour and 8,800. And then above there, we should really fly in Ripple. That's what I'm looking for, but no momentum to break out of this at all yet. So perhaps some more sideways before we carry on. Now, where am I going to put my alarm so I don't get spooked on a false breakout? I'm going to probably put it just above these highs, around 8,600. So that's Ripple Bitcoin. How does Ripple, if we go to Ripple Bitcoin on the daily, you know, we've still got some resistance, and that alarm and that level that I've drawn as alarm, I should really put a little bit higher because I really want to see it go through the daily 20 moving average as well. So that's around 8,600. I've moved my alert up to. I'll fix that later. 8,600. So let's look at Ripple US dollar. So it's not so pretty in that we're underneath the 200-day moving average and we're underneath a few of the others, but it's not so bad because we've held support of the 50 moving average. And that's like, you know, your backstop. Momentum is turning up again. We look like we've made an ABC correction, although the lower one was a little bit longer. So if we take the last swing lower, this is the last 5-way swing lower here as our reference. Then in Ripple, the 618 was where we reversed. The 236 was where we found some support. So now the 50% in the middle of this should be our bull bear line. I'm just going to move this up and put it on the highs to give us our next target. Okay. So I'm going to lock that here. So it'll go down to the 4-hour. So 50% of this high to the low is our bull bear line in Ripple dollar. And that's at 0.7984. 0.7984. If we get above that, then happy days, we're on our way. 0.79845. Now, just like Ripple Bitcoin, you know, we've been sideways for a few days. Maybe the attention is on other coins or whatever. But yeah, just waiting for this one to go. And if it doesn't, if we roll lower, then, you know, get out. I would say if you've bought this tentatively, don't let it go back below 0.632 because then it breaks the entire bullish setup. Just get out and then wait, and it's below the daily, all of the daily moving averages then as well. So I would just say get out and wait for a better buy setup because I don't have one. So Ripple US dollar tentatively bullish will feel much better above 0.79845. That's Ripple. Waves is next. I'm a huge ride the waves. I really do like the setup in this coin. I really like the bullish Gartley pattern that we made on this pullback. We bounced off the 786 fib. This price action was nutty though. We did it so fast. Our target, we went to the 382, which was a perfect example of what I talk about. You go from a 786, 382, you pull back to 50% in the middle, which we did perfectly, and now we're rallying. This should be the next leg higher in waves. My target is up here at 125,000 for this swing, and yeah, I don't know what to say. Buy pullbacks. This is looking really awesome. So again, ABC correction. Let's get rid of this. So ABC correction, and if we put 50% of this high to the low, that might be the trouble area that we need to get above. There it is at 79,680. But in every other respect, I think that waves looks great. There is resistance at 9,000, big resistance at 9,000, but then 10,000. Sorry, 109,000, and then 100, as I said, 123,000 target. So yeah, I get any entry, take any entry you can in this one in waves. I think it looks great. Next one we're going to look at is MCO. Monaco. I think I talked about this before. There's this level in Monaco. Here it is. So if I put this on the highs with these highs and this prior high, because this is the trend line, isn't it really? Then this is what we've got to get above. We stalled here. But in fact, I could be a little bit more bullish. If I look at closes, this is the highest close. We've made a slightly higher close, but not enough. We're stuck at resistance, therefore, in Monaco against Bitcoin, looking for a swing higher. Now, this is another one where we go from this low here. We made it's a 4 hour, so sorry. We go from the low that we made on the 2nd of April to the high that we made on the 19th of April. I'm going to lock that. We're really reversing at a 786. We've made a bit of a funky, it's a bit of a funky inverted head and shoulders pattern when you look at it this way. We'll draw the neckline from here through here. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. There's one thing about inverted head and shoulders patterns. The best ones have symmetry. So the best ones have left shoulders and right shoulders approximately the same size. And if we take that from touches of the neckline, if I move it down, maybe this is here, but I kind of think it's from here. And so if this is the size of the left shoulder, like this, I don't know, we'll just do it like that. That's the left, then this is how long the right shoulder is going to take. So then we can expect it around the 17th of May. And before then, we're probably going to see some sideways price action in Monaco like this. So, you know, we need to be a bit patient. So that's potentially one scenario in Monaco. This is a 4-hour chart. So let's go back and carry on. Now, when we do rally and when we do break out above this neckline and when we do finally get above, you know, 130,000, let's call it 130,000, then our target for this reversal at a 786 is back to the 382, which is 221,500. Obviously these fib levels in the middle will give us some trouble on the way, but that's what I'm looking for in Monaco. Pretty good signs of a bottoming pattern, but potentially we could spend a bit more time going sideways before this breaks out. If we take a look at this on a daily chart, this could not really look better. It looks lovely, a pullback to these moving averages and a super bullish reversal. So let's see if we can follow through, but we might need a few more inside days like today before we do. Next one is BAT. I haven't looked at BAT for ages. Basic attention token. Doesn't mean it's not a good coin. It's just one of those things. So let's start on the daily. So super pullback to daily moving averages. And funnily enough, look at this. This is another one. A reversal at a 786 fib came back to the 382 fib. And now we're rallying. When you see that, the 50% between these two lines is going to be resistance. So 4699. So for BAT to push through and keep going higher, we need a daily close above 4699. We kind of slowed down here today. Let's see it on an hourly. But here it looks like we're pushing through and pushing higher. If so, happy days. And let's look to higher in BAT. So quite bullish. And if I stay bullish, we shouldn't come back below this daily 20 moving average, and that's at 4482. So as long as we stay above 4482, I'm looking for another swing higher and new highs in basic attention token. I'm just going to project using this fib and see where we end up. I just want to look for where everything lines up together. There it is. That's the one we want. So my target is going to be 9,400 at new highs. We've got lots of resistance between now and then. Obviously, a retest of these highs at 5,700 is going to be tricky. Then I think that we have trouble around 8,000, between 7,900 and 8,000. But my target for basic attention token for this next swing is 9,400. Big picture. as long as we stay above that daily 20 moving average. And that will be all the way up. As long as we stay above that, that's a really good guide, and it will keep you in the trade as well. So the next one we're going to look at is BQX. I have to find BQX. Bit of a disappointing pullback in this one. Now, if we include the spike in BQX and we go from the high that we made on the 5th of January to the low that we made on the 9th of March, then where we failed a few days ago and have sold off so sharply from is that 618 fib and the highs that we made at the beginning of February. And that means, unfortunately, although it looks like we've got some good support here from the daily 20 moving average, it means that we may see another push lower to the 382 fib retrace at 34,400 after a bounce. So we've done one swing lower, we bounce, and then we do another swing lower. Now, an alternative way to look at this is to ignore the spike, which I quite often do. Say, oh, that was a fat finger, and then this is our 236 fib level here, and this was these highs, and it looks in that case perfect. And then if we look at it this way and we take that out, then we say, oh look, we failed at the 50%, we've pulled back 50%, so we should rally from here. I don't know which one of these views is correct. I suppose it all depends on what you think the validity of this spike is. So I could make an argument in BQX that we've bottomed and could rally from here, or I could make an argument that potentially we need one more push lower back to that daily 50 around 34,000. So how am I going to know? Do you know? We're only going to know if we rally more than 50% of this sharp drop. So I think it's okay to put your toe in the water and buy back some BQX here, but just watch that we don't just go half of the way and then roll over, because if we do, we're going to go to 3,400. So that's how I see BQX. Then my target's 64,000, so first target, next target. So I am looking at from here. I think it's almost worth a little put your toe in the water. This is such a good support and resistance level as well, but just be careful that we don't go 50% and then roll lower again. So the next one we're going to look at is one I haven't looked at for a while. Enigma. I'm such a fan of this chart. We had a breakout today. Look at this sideways range where we got stuck. This was the high, the closing high, and the high, and really the 50% of the high to the low. If we close above that today, that's 32,040. Then that level, 32,040, should be pullback on a support, on a pullback tomorrow to keep going higher. So that means if you get an hourly pullback towards 32,040, you can buy it. First target is 38,000, and then let's go back to the daily for the rest of the targets. But yeah, first target is 38,000. This is going to be quite tricky, I think, just because of these prior highs. And then I'm looking for Enigma to return to the highs and probably new highs. So 57,850 after that, and then can't even see it. 89,750. So yeah, lovely rounding bottom, ABC sideways correction, and now on our way higher again in Enigma. So again, if we close today above 32,000, that should be support tomorrow to buy against to keep going higher in Enigma. Next request is for Ethereum Classic. I got so excited with this breakout. Adam and Eve bottom here. Eve and Adam. This is, or as Trader Dante would call this, it would be a swing failure pattern. So this is when we make a base. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 touches of our support here, and then we spike it and bounce back. So this is a bullish pattern. In Ethereum Classic, we should see some follow through from here and another wave higher. Haven't quite got there yet, but that's what I'm looking for. So what would confirm we're going higher? 50% of this drop, I think, above 22 224,000, but really this prior resistance level would confirm it. So this is bullish price action so far in Ethereum Classic, and I'm just looking for some follow through here on the hourly, 4 hourly. You can see we've all slowed down, so no momentum, but just sideways consolidation. Anything back below 195,000 and the bullish pattern is invalid, but we should continue higher from here, and above 243,500 again is a breakout, and we're looking for 310,000 next in Enigma and continuing higher. So lots of moving averages within this consolidation range to get through. So it's going to be quite tricky, I think, in Ethereum Classic until we do break out. So the next one we're going to look at is Stratis for Crypto Gay Guy. Hello, Crypto Gay Guy, one of the nicer people on Twitter. Well, there are lots of not very nice people, but okay. This one just looks just like Bitcoin, Stratis. Stratis has broken my heart a few times, let me tell you. It was probably my worst trade of 2017. The thing about Stratis, which is frustrating here, is I was looking from these highs and I thought, oh, we're above the 236, we're above the 200 moving average. You know, we really should see some follow through and keep going higher here. And what we've done is we've fallen back underneath both times, the 200 moving average as well. But when you look at it, you know, a flat moving average means there's no trend. So all of these daily moving averages are completely flat. And so there is no trade, and then it becomes a range trade when you oscillate either side. So far, we're holding support. We're holding above the 50 moving average. If I draw from the lows to the highs of this most recent swing higher, this is quite positive because we've bounced off the 50%. So now we need to see some follow through and continue higher and above the 50% going the other way. So that's going to be 7582. A close above 7582 would say that we're going to push higher. And that's exactly where the high was here last week. So above 7582, we're super bullish. And the other way, I think if we drop more than 50% of this rally, which would be below 7043, we're not bullish. So stop out if we go below 7,000 and look for it above 7,585 for the uptrend to continue. And then I think we go, you know, much higher, back to at least these prior highs and this kind of pivot level around 10,000, 10,500. 10,000 would be the 1.618 projection from here. So 10,000 to 10,500 next for Stratis. Hope that helps. Okay, only a couple more. Well done for all the people that have hung in this long. There won't be that many more. So I'm just going to quickly whip through the ones that are left. The next one we're going to look at is at BNB for Ben, Binance Coin. This one, really, no, there's no edge in Binance Coin at all. Since we made a double top and we pulled back a little bit further than I wanted and we've stopped going higher, we've literally gone sideways. And there's no edge until we break out of this range. So if we get back above 16,400, then we're going higher. And I think if we drop below these lows at 14,000, then we could go, to be honest, a lot lower. When I look at the bearish cross of these daily moving averages, that's what it says we'll probably do. And then we repeat this swing. So if we do this, high to low, and we do another one, we come back at least to 11,400 potentially. And all the way down here. So if we break these lows, don't hang on for the ride, is what I'm going to say. And I would say shorter term, if you're still long BNB looking for a push higher, see this smaller range that we're in and this wedge. To be honest, if we break these lows, I would get out here and not bother waiting for the next drop. You know, look at this tiny range we're in this 4 hour. This one right now isn't going anywhere. But if it decides it's lower, I think I would step aside in Binance Coin and just wait for a better pullback entry. If we look for 50% of this, then you could say, oh yeah, it's not far, we know we're nearly there, but there's no guarantee, to be honest, that we're going to find support there. We could come all the way back to the bottom of this wedge and the 200-day moving average, and that's probably, unfortunately, more likely. So sorry it's not better news for you in BNB, Ben, but I hope that helps. So the next one is QTUM for Dave Elkin. Hello, Dave Elkin. Let's take a look at what QTUM's been up to, because we've seen quite an impressive bounce today. But where is that in the bigger picture of things for QTUM? Well, it's not quite a double bottom, but it's in the zone of all these other lows, isn't it? So with QTUM, then you say, well, maybe this was like an ABC correction or something like that to get us more excited. And it was the 1.618. So yes, the only thing I can say about this is pretty good bullish price action, and it's a pretty good extension level to try and find some support from. And yeah, but I need to see it do a little bit more for me to be to reverse the trend. So I'm going to say the 236 from this high to the low, first of all, is your first resistance. And if we get above that level, so you can buy it based on the price action, but watch that we don't fail at, this is QTUM F. I don't know why I'm doing QTUM F. It looks much worse. If you're in QTUM F, then 2,664,000 is where you're going to have trouble. Let's do QTUM Bitcoin. Some of my group had QTUM F, that's why we're looking at it. I think we'd better do QTUM, this one. But I have a marked chart as well that helps. Okay. Now, it's not quite on the low lows, isn't it? What I like about this, actually, is this was a swing failure pattern. So this is one of those ones where you break a support level, but you don't close it, and everybody chucks the towel in, and you end up rallying pretty hard the other way. So we've got a bit of a range here in QTUM Bitcoin. High of the range is up here, around 258,000. So I'm going to say if we go through 50% of this nasty drop, we're probably going to go higher. We're going to go back to the top of the range and we're going to look for a breakout. So I'm a bit cautious in QTUM, and I needed to do it a bit more, and I'll explain why. So 50% is 223,700. Above 223,700, which is this 618 level, happy days. Okay, now the reason I'm a bit cautious about QTUM is I like that we're rallying from a 786 level. I like that that means that our target should be the 382 up here. All of that is pretty good. I like this support level through the middle that we've bounced off today. That's pretty good. But this was an ABC corrective. You know, there's no way you can say that this bounce that we had from the March lows was impulsive. It was, you know, apart from this first swing. So I'd really like to, in order to get longer term excited about QTUM, or that we might reach our target, which is all the way up here at 525,000, I really want to see some bit more impulsive moves rather than just this tired overlapping struggle to get higher. So that's what I'm looking for in QTUM Bitcoin. And there's a lot of resistance to get through before we get there. But back above the 200-day moving average at 237,000, we should fly, and or at least move a little bit faster, and then 323,500. So QTUM has been a bit of a disappointment, but I'm hoping it turns it around now. And so last one, hooray, WAN. I just realised I might have missed one out. So the last one we're going to look at is WAN chain here. So we'll go to a daily of WAN. Okay, So WAN, nice breakout. We hit, if we measure our fib from this high to the low, we hit the 1.618 target perfectly. All good. We've come back and we've retested these prior highs. When I look for a retest of prior highs, this is a little trick. I look for a back test of the 886 fib. Very often it goes below the prior highs, and that's usually where it finds some support. And that's what we've done in WAN. So 7,542 is where I'd be looking for it to go a hole below. And if we drop back below that, I'm going to say that I'm going to get a bit bearish if we close below 7,542 and we're in a much bigger correction. So for now, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 inside days. I've got Heikin Ashi candles. I'll put regular ones on. For now, this price action isn't terribly inspiring. It looks like we're setting to reset the lows. If you wanted an early sign of an exit, then I'd probably be looking at this as a bear flag, which I think it looks like. But really, you're only wrong if we go back below 7,500. But this is looking like a bear flag. So if we break our bear flag to the downside, we're going to see 50% of this entire rally. Wait, your target is there's 50%. Oh, we don't really want to go below that, do we? So I would look for 6,400 and then 5,120. But let's let it break down and we'll reassess once it does that. I would get out if we go below that. So, and then just wait for a better buy signal or a sign of a base in WAN. Okay, so that's everything. Again, I'm really sorry about the streaming issues. I will see you next week on Facebook, hopefully with everything working really well. Thanks very much. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter.